This podcast episode is sponsored by Alaska Airlines, now offering routes to Tokyo and Seoul, and soon routes to Rome, London, and Reykjavik, all flying direct from Seattle. Thank you to Alaska Airlines for sponsoring this podcast. I'm Rachel Horgan. Join me each episode as I sit down with a guest co-host covering the latest business stories in the Seattle area. We'll read the news so you don't have to. This is The Weekly. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is our last episode of the year, so I don't really have a personal life update. I couldn't think of one. I guess I was boring this past weekend, but I'm going to get right into introducing our guest because I'm sitting across here from Leigh Barnes, president of the Americas of Intrepid Travel. Hi, Leigh.
Hey, how you going?
I'm doing well. How are you going? That's an Australian phrase, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm Australian, so possibly it's just something in my vernacular. But what I say, how are you going?
How are you going? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We use that quite frequently, and I do get some strange looks at bars and cafes when I ask the waiter how they're going.
How they going? I love it. Well, and we haven't met before, so I can already tell this is going to be a fun interview. But your team reached out, and I think it's going to be a perfect fit to talk about travel kind of towards the end of the year as people are traveling home for Christmas and the holidays and thinking about their 2026 travel plans.
It's like the best and worst time to travel. It's
yes.
It's like a nadir of like, oh my God, I'm vanishing, or this is the hardest travel I've ever had to do to get to see my family and all the stuff that comes with it. So it's a blessing and a curse this time of year.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm taking the train down to Oregon. That's my plan. But and then we also have Nick is sitting here with us, help make sure we sound good on our mics. So Leigh, I wanted to say a little bit more about you, is that you've worked for Intrepid Travel for about 15 years, and you were named the president of the Americas this past year. So you've stepped into that role about a year ago. And you're also the publisher of adventure.com, which is an adventure news platform. So we got that news in common, news background in common.
Yeah, well, I try. That's maybe my night job. But most of what I do is, sell holidays at Intrepid Travel and run the business here. So I moved to Seattle in, March. It rained for the first 3 weeks, and me and my wife were like, what have we done? And then it basically didn't rain all summer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it hasn't stopped raining for the last 2 months. And we're much more accustomed to it now. And we're like, we've got this now. But at the start, it was a bit of a shock.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the roller coaster that is Seattle.
Thank you.
So you've had this long history of working in travel as your career. Why did you choose to get into that? Why is that important to you?
Oh, I think it was probably more good luck than good management.
Oh, yeah?
I think probably got into travel haphazardly, but when I'd always said through high school and university, like, what do you want to be when you get older? And I was like, I just want to go live in London. Like, that was my thing, was to just escape. And when you're that age and something just becomes your personality, and my whole thing was maybe to go backpacking in Europe. And then after I did that, I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Like, what now?
Yeah. So the strategy, so I bounced around from a number of different jobs, largely in marketing, comms and business development. And then somehow, somewhere started off as a search and social media coordinator, super entry level back when Google PPC was starting and social media was starting. So if there's any mistakes on the internet for Intrepid from 15 years ago, they're definitely mine, because I don't even know if I knew what I was doing. But yeah, managed to stumble my way into the industry, and never looked back. I've absolutely loved it. And a big turning point for me was I went hiking in Nepal to Everest Base Camp, and from that moment on, it's really given me the kick up the arse. That is an Australian term, that one particularly. I learned a lot about myself and the world through doing that trek through the Himalayas. And yeah, from that moment, I've really been blessed to be in the travel industry and blessed to work at Intrepid and try and make a positive impact with what we do at the company.
Has it ruined travel for you personally? You know how plumbers don't want to plumb their own house? Like, has it ruined travel at all? Because you're like, this feels like work.
I definitely don't want to plumb my own house or anyone's house for that matter. But no, I still absolutely love traveling. Good. It's probably changed for me a little bit. I find the bump and grind of business travel is less sexy as it once was. I think when I was younger, it was like, ooh, I'm getting on the aeroplane, I'm going out for a dinner, all those things. That's probably harder now. And, I really miss the pull of my family when I'm doing business travel. And I've got a little daughter now, so travel has changed for me. It's more road trips and slower travel, but I still love it. We went to Hawaii a couple of months ago, and it was great. I just love being out there, seeing new cultures, learning new stuff. We were doing a road trip up to Vancouver over the Christmas break. And also too, I think that's why, I've been quite open to moving countries, and why I found myself in Seattle is there's a sense of adventure in everything, and being able to come to a new country, meet new people, try new food, drink new coffee, challenge yourself to learn new things. They're all the reasons why I love travel. And you can do that in a number of different ways. It doesn't have to be a big adventure to Nepal. It can be, walking a new city, or going to have a beer with someone new. Some of those things are really interesting, and I find what draws me to travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Well, we've got one more question for you before we get into our articles, which is, we've mentioned Intrepid Travel as a travel company, but can you say a little bit more about specifically what it does?
Yeah, so we're all about sharing in the uncommon. We're the world's largest adventure travel company. So we travel to over 100 different countries, everything from, as I touched on, hiking to Everest Base Camp, to seeing the gorillas in Rwanda, to sailing the Greek islands. And then you can do cultural experiences like food tours in Vietnam and Mexico, and all over the globe. And we really focus on a couple of key things. Ones are always done in small groups. Yeah, so it's normally going to be 10 to 15 people, which keeps it really intimate.
Yeah.
Two, it's going to be sustainable. We do everything we can to reduce the climate impacts of our tours. And we also look to make sure that we're investing in the communities, and these trips are having a positive impact in the places that we visit. And then the final component is, it's all about experiences. You're traveling with Intrepid to go and explore the world, meet new people, be open to new cultures, and have amazing experiences in different parts of the world.
Wow, it sounds really cool. And we're going to dive a lot more into kind of the business side of Intrepid Travel and how that all works. So the top 4 stories this week, and I've mentioned this before, but December is a slow month for business news. So I promise you're not missing out on any other business stories.
Disclaimer.
These are the top stories, and these are ones that I wanted to talk to, because there's a kind of a travel and an experience theme to these stories. But I'm not overlooking some of the big ones. So everyone's still caught up on what's going on. The first one is REI is bringing back travel experiences with Intrepid Travels. We'll hear about that new partnership. Then our next one is going to be Alaska Airlines has new routes. Our third one is going to be Expedia is going to acquire an online booking platform for experiences. And our last one, Wild Waves theme park is to shut down next year. So we're going to jump right into it. So the first one, like I said, REI and Intrepid are partnering. REI, you might remember this, but way back in the day, REI retired international experiences in 2021. And then earlier this year, we covered it on an episode, is that they phased out all of their tour offerings. So they had cited that only 0.4% of their members were using this offering, and it wasn't profitable. They were having to pay for all of it with other parts of the profits of their business. But now they're bringing it back, because I think people were sad about it, because the 0.4% that did do it really liked it. And they're partnering with Intrepid to do that. So how did this partnership come about? Were you involved in this? Tell us about it.
Yeah. Again, maybe more good luck than good management. But we, maybe before we had this turn on the podcast, we were chatting that, we moved and set up Intrepid's head office in Seattle. So in March, we opened our American HQ here. So we've been hiring and building a business here in Seattle. And through that process, we started to have some conversations with REI over the summer months. And that, as they said, they were looking to bring back their travel portfolio. I think a couple of reasons why they were keen was, one, as you said, that feedback from the community. It was a much loved program, and they wanted to be able to travel with other REI customers, and a really strong community. I think that's one of the things I've really noticed since moving to Seattle, is the pride and passion about REI. And then I think also too, there was a lot of auxiliary benefits to the business of having a travel sector. Gave them trust in the market, also validated them to sell their travel products, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, conversations started in the summer, and really it was about bringing together REI's brand, its community, with our operational excellence. Intrepid's been around for 35 years. And as I said, we operate trips in 100 different locations. And one of the main differences for us compared to a lot of other tour operators, a lot of other travel companies out there, is we aren't a reseller. We are the actual tour operator. So we have what's known as destination management companies, or DMCs. Apologies if I say DMC and people are like, what the hell does that mean?
I used to work for one.
Oh, did you really? In the States? Or?
Yeah, in San Diego.
Cool. So not many people know what it means, but effectively it's the arm of a tour business or tourism organization that is actively running the product on the ground. So we have these all over the world, in places like in Denver, in Lima, in Marrakesh, and we operate the product. So it's not just the brand, we actually manufacture these tourism products. And the big component for us is we do that on ground. Yeah, so we have these DMCs all over the world and we employ locals that have great connections in those countries. So we brought together this sense of community and the brand that's REI and Intrepid's operational expertise, and it felt like a perfect fit. The other reason why is we're both values aligned. So Intrepid is a B Corp. That means we use our business as a force for good. Other B Corps you might know of as Patagonia, Ben & Jerry's. Hopefully I said that right. I think I've mentioned Tom and Jerry's in the past and got tongue-tied and got that wrong. But effectively we use our business as a force for good. And, REI is member owned. So that values component. So all of that coming together really felt like a really strong fit. And we've got some amazing trips in the USA and all around the globe.
So I want to talk about the B Corp in a second, but first, REI cited that what they were offering wasn't making money. They were losing money on it. So how are you going to, how are you going to make money from this? Why does it feel different from you? Is it because you've already scaled? Like what makes it that this is more of a successful partnership than REI doing it themselves?
Yeah, you touched on it there. There's a number of key elements. Scale. We are an operator, have been doing this for 35 years. We'll be $1 billion organization next year, so much bigger scale. And we have the infrastructure in place. So we're able to deliver experiences in 100 different countries. I think I've said that way too many times over the course of this conversation. So if anyone wants to know, Intrepid goes to 100 different countries, but we're able to scale. Yeah, and all the infrastructure that comes with that, whether it's the tents, the trucks, to the finance systems, to the safety, the insurance, all elements that goes into running a global tour operator, we do that every day. And we are already profitable. We've doubled the size of the business and rapidly increased our profitability since the pandemic. So our business is strong. We've got good fundamentals. We do the right thing and we're growing. So for us to then partner with an iconic brand, very easy for us to continue to make sure this business stacks up. We'll be able to continue to grow and develop unique product for REI because that's what we do every day and that's our core competency. And we're going to be able to operate them. We have incredible NPS. That's the system we use to rank and rate our trips, consistently over 80. So we're going to bring world-class product to their portfolio. And REI can concentrate on what makes them a great brand is their excellent community, their great shop fronts, their excellent e-commerce facilities, and we can focus on what makes us a great business is running great holidays. Yeah. So I think when you bring those two together, I think it's going to be a really strong partnership and we're very confident that we can make this a sustainable business, not just in year one, but for many years to come. And because we have that strong operational capacity and as I've touched on, we do the right thing. We are a B Corp. We look after the planet as best we possibly can. We're always looking to reduce our impacts. We invest heavily in communities. I think from a tourism and a travel industry, there's two components that, on a macro level are so important. If we don't have a healthy planet, we do not have a travel business. Simple as that. If we are unable to take people hiking in the Cascades because there's fires, floods, we don't have a business. So the planet and how it survives is so important to us. And then two, we need communities to want us. Yeah, if you're going to a community and they don't actually want you to go there, again, how are we supposed to take people to Peru to learn how to make a pisco sour? How are we supposed to, take people to Marrakesh to have, tea with the Berber family if these communities don't want you there? So those two things are fundamental to our business. I'm very confident we're going to be able to continue to do these right things and we'll have a strong, sustainable partnership with REI that enables both of us to keep focusing on what we do best.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like a partnership that makes sense. I want to talk about the B Corp. We've had Tomboy X was on and they're a B Corp. And from my understanding, it's a company that says they're going to do a good thing, right? But what does that look like specifically? Can you give us an example of how are you held accountable as a B Corp? What do you have to report? Any kind of examples you have of what that looks like in reality to be a B Corp?
Yeah, so effectively B Corp is saying that you're using your business as a force for good. Mm-hmm. And that force for good can be a number of different ways depending on what your business does, who its stakeholders are, and who its customers are. Now, the B Corp is a rigorous auditing process. So I think if you want to simplify it, think about what you do for your finances at a company. You will get them audited by a Big Four consultancy that will come in and say, you're doing this well and you're doing this poorly and you need to make changes. This is doing it for your whole business. It's giving you an audit around how you're treating your customers, how you're treating the communities you operate in, how you're looking after your people, and how you are engaging with the planet. Yeah, and it's giving you that complete audit. So not only is it a way for consumers to say it's a check mark, it's also an amazing way for you to make your business better. So every 2 to 3 years, you go through a rigorous auditing process where you have to be completely transparent. We're already a very transparent organization. We completely share all of our numbers in the annual report. We're a privately listed private company. We don't have to do that, but we share that all transparently anyway. But through the B Corp process, we share all these different components that go into our business. It takes us months and months to go
like
through
what,
this.
like fuel that your trucks are using, or like how much you're paying your people, everything.
Yes,
Okay.
what energy your office is using.
Oh, wow, yeah.
How you recycle, what leave entitlements do you give your customer, what leave entitlements do you give your staff, sorry, customers, that's fine. But how you then communicate with your customers, what you're telling your customers, are you being honest with them? So all these different components go into it. At the end of it, you're given a score. You have to be over 80. Intrepid's last one, we're up over 100. And you're ranked and given scores in those different areas of your business. And this has been a powerful driver of change at Intrepid. So not only is it great to give customers and consumers and partners confidence in your business that you're doing the right thing, I think where we've found it even more useful is it's actually driven us to be a better business. Now, I'll give you a tangible example of that is we'd always thought that we were marketing ethically and showing a diverse set of customers. Through the B Corp process, it's like, well, do you have any policies around this? And we were like, no, we don't. Why would we have ethical marketing guidelines? We do that
right naturally.
Anyway.
We already do that, yeah.
And they're like, well, how do you keep your staff accountable? How do you keep yourself accountable as a leader? And I was like, very fair point. We went away and built our ethical marketing guidelines that give, we completely share this openly with the public, but we set ourselves KPIs and goals around showing people of First Nations, people of colour, people of differing abilities in all of our marketing channels. We shared about our privacy policies and gave a full transparent look at the different elements of our marketing to ensure we were doing that ethically. And then we release a scorecard every year. Now that has made us a better business because we are now showing the reality of our real customers on trips. Yeah, and we weren't doing that before because there wasn't any rigor, there wasn't reporting around it. So now we have a process that shows that we are representing our customers properly. We're showing up for First Nations, whether it's in Australia, in Canada, and other parts of the world. And we're generally doing a better job of ethically marketing our business.
Right. It's what gets measured gets done, I think is the saying.
Generally in business.
Right?
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what are the other business, because it's all well and good to be a good company, but there usually is also kind of a business incentive for those kinds of things. So I think you've touched on that it is inspiring and empowering for the staff. I think it's also a selling point for other your clients that might want to sign up because it's a B Corp. Are there any sort of like tax breaks or financial incentives that B Corps get in general?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
They're made by country in different countries, but we have to go through an audit in all the different countries around the world, which can be quite challenging for us in different parts of the world. As you imagine, there's very different operating setups in countries around the world. I think the other one that I'd say is the other benefit for us has been at a board and legal level. We have enshrined through the B Corp process that our constitution, that we operate our business for all stakeholders. And that was something that was really important for our founders, that it wasn't just a for-profit organization. You know, we operate under the model of purpose and profit. And by having that, we now have to legally operate the business to be for the benefit of all stakeholders. So that's been very powerful. And yeah, since we've become a B Corp, we've had record growth, record profit, record employee engagement. It's not the only thing, but it's a big part of that story and what we've been doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. And good to know. Okay, we're going to move on to our next article, which is about Alaska Airlines. So they have some new routes. Starting in May of 2026, you'll be able to go from Seattle to London nonstop, which makes for 3 new flights within the past month. They've got flights to Reykjavik. Those are set to begin also in May. And then a flight to Rome is going to begin in April. And then earlier this year, they'd already announced their nonstop trips from Seattle to Tokyo and to Seoul. So this is coming after their merger with Hawaiian Airlines. So they are doing really well. I want to talk about Intrepid Travel. My first question was, how many countries does Intrepid Travel provide experiences? I think we got that, over 100.
Yeah, okay. That's right. I've nailed that one, I think.
I think so. Which ones are the most popular?
Right now, Morocco, Peru, Japan, anything in Europe, and Vietnam. They've been our best sellers for a while now. Product with a rocket, or things that are rising that you wouldn't expect, the stands. Really, really popular. That part of the world is definitely opening up more.
Like Pakistan and
Uzbekistan. Yeah, that whole that region is incredibly popular. And then, Japan and Korea is definitely over. Since the pandemic, they've become really popular. So great that those Alaska routes are going there for us. But yeah, they're our best sellers.
Awesome. So talk to me about how you work with airlines. From my research, it looks like most of your packages don't include the airfare and they have to figure that out, but some of them kind of do. What's your strategy around airfare?
Yeah, so we focus on operating the tours. So if there's flights within the trip, we will take care of them.
Oh, so once you get there and then you're flying to this tiny little island,
That's right. We're taking care of anything. So what we focus our business on is the start point. So when you get to Marrakesh, you get to Lima, you get to wherever your starting point, that we take over and run the trip for every facet from there, whether it's the local transport, the accommodation, the connecting flights, the boats, the buses, the dinners, etc., that are built into it. We don't currently market that we sell flights. We will help customers with that. And we do have relationships with airlines and different travel agents to facilitate that for customers. But our core business and what we focus on is the operation. So the tour operation part of our business is probably 95 to 98%. We probably do 2% in external flight revenue.
Okay, because I was going to say there could be a revenue source there of booking the flight, charging a markup, and making a little profit on every flight you book for them. But then it probably costs a lot of labor and a lot of people booking flights. And it's a whole different division of your business. And it doesn't sound like it's worth it.
That's right. It could be worth it if we get the model right. But, strategy in business, I'm probably going to sound like a business speak person. It's about what you don't do as much as what you do. And, we are very much focused on creating the best trips possible. And that's where our attention goes. So, look, I understand in a world we won't be doing that. It's just conversation at a leadership level we've had numerous times, but our priority has really been on operating the trips and continually making them better. We've dabbling in a few auxiliary areas. We've gone into hotels more and more over the last couple of years, some acquisitions predominantly in Australia and building out hotel accommodations there. And we've moved a little bit into media, as I said, the adventure.com platform that we operate. And we've also launched a range of books as well that really focus on experiences and storytelling as an alternative travel guide. But yeah, from a flights perspective, it's something we've dipped our toe in, but strategically haven't really given it a full throttle push.
Yeah, and those other things probably also serve as a little bit of a lead gen. They're reading the travel thing, then they want to book it.
Yeah, and those very much is a fundamental, brand building exercise as well. They've got to be profitable and make sure that they wipe their own face or clean their own face and make sure that works. But also, they do give us that benefit of, they're on bookshelves or people are seeing the hotels, they're going and having an Intrepid experience. Our strategy is all about, creating more Intrepid people, and those other avenues like hotels, shorter experiences like through Urban Adventures, we do day tours, adventure.com and our publishing business, that continues to create, more Intrepid people that are curious, connected, have a sense of community, so they don't have to do a 10-day trip. As much as I would like them to, there's other ways to engage with the brand of the business.
Yeah, definitely. One more question on this about Alaska and these new flights, and we're going in different places. You mentioned some of the more popular ones. I want to know what you've seen change in the travel industry over the years. And I want to give an example from my experience working in DMCs and stuff. I feel like, there's always some sort of big trend. So for a while, it was Instagram worthy moments. And that may still be the thing of like, everyone goes to the top of this mountain and takes a picture there. Then there's also, for a big chunk of it was being a local. I want to travel like a local. Instead of going to the Space Needle, I want to do something that like no one else does. And then there's also, I think you see a lot of exclusivity of, you can't just book this online. You have to be invited or you have to have a certain level of whatever to get this. So have you seen that change? Do you think all of those still apply? What have you noticed?
Rachel, first off, I love that you've worked at a DMC. I think you're literally the only journalist I've ever spoken to that has experience. So if I BS, you're probably going to be able to call me out on it. So I'll start there. That I absolutely love that you've worked in one. All of those things are true. So those trends continue to shape travel. I think the social media age rapidly changed travel in a way that we probably weren't expecting or have fully reconciled. I think that's still happening, and then, it's getting faster. I think the biggest trends that have shaped our business or that we've seen has been the shift in traveling to holiday or vacation to, relax, to focus on experiences and growth and education and to experience something. That has been the shift that's driven our company. The fact that more people want experiences over things, and that they're not just traveling, from I'm going to sit on the beach and have 12 beers and not think about it, anything. That people still do that, but that's probably their one holiday every couple of years. And that the big shift, this I think is the big, forget about the smaller trends. This underlines the social media shift, that underlines the exclusivity shift. It's all around experiences. Yeah. So these exclusive experiences, I think one of the articles we're going to speak about is a new acquisition around experiences. The rapid change in sports and exclusive music events, think Taylor Swift, they're all experiences. And that shift to try and get access to these exclusive things, exclusivity is part of the experience trend. The social media, going to have your picture at Machu Picchu or going to have your picture at the Grand Canyon, that's an experience. But social media has been the accelerant, the fuel on that. So the biggest trend that has shaped the industry is people wanting experiences. You're seeing airlines advertise themselves and market themselves on that. Delta's made some big plays in the last couple of months around really marketing themselves as an experience provider. So yeah, I think all these other technology enablers are all fueling this want to go and experience the world, whether that's doing something like hiking or cycling or fitness wise. That's grown drastically to coffee tourism. People are always wanting to have a mate. So all these experiences, which just 15 years ago, that wasn't a thing. You were either going to flop and drop at somewhere nice. You were going to
flop and drop.
Maybe that's another Australian expression as well. So flop and drop will be, I'm flown to a beach and I've dropped at the beach and I'm not doing anything.
That. I will be using that.
So the flop and drop there. You're backpacking. Yeah, like cheap, just going around, or you had money and you're doing the first class, or like this. That was the three sort of avenues to travel, and that's changed based off this want for experiences. So that's the big trend. There are lots of little things that I think have enabled it, but that I think is a more societal change. I think the other trend that we're seeing that I think is probably there's lots of them, but the loneliness epidemic. So we've seen a massive increase in solo travelers. We've seen a massive increase in people traveling to connect. Yes, because of, we're hidden behind our screens. We are addicted to our telephones. People are now taking travel as and the opposite of that, the antithesis of that. I'm disconnecting. I am going to now go to connect, to learn. So that, loneliness component and trying to find yourself through travel as a vehicle for that, I think that's going to be another big accelerant, and that is probably hidden behind when you talk about social media, talk about AI, talk about these other things. So much of that is impacting people's sense of connection and community, and they're trying to fill that by traveling to these exclusive events. I'm a Swiftie. I'm building my community through that, or I go and see ex-college football team. I go travel to see them. So they're trying to build that sense of community and overcome that. I think that is probably going to be the other big trend that's going to shape tourism over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I think it's a good point of kind of all the social media, wanting to escape, wanting to find yourself and get reconnected. Very good point. Okay, we're going to move on. Like you mentioned, there is an acquisition here happening. So Expedia is going to acquire an online booking platform for experiences, and it is called Tickets, spelled Tiqets. And I don't know why, but that drives me insane. But it's based in Amsterdam, and it allows users to find and book local experiences, kind of like what we were talking about. So I guess really quick, you said you've acquired other companies? Yeah. Okay.
I think I think I've read that articles like that for the last week, and that's the first time I realized it was a spelling of tickets.
Is it not? I mean, that's what I think it is.
So do I. I think so. Thanks for making that abundantly clear to me. I was reading it as like
Tiquets
or tickets, like tiger. Thanks for helping clarify that.
I got you.
Yeah, we've had some acquisitions over the journey. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think I want to talk about this one. So we've got Expedia trying to take into experiences, and I've seen all these Airbnb commercials where they are trying to get into experiences. What do you think? I mean, we've talked about it a little bit, but do you think, what is it like competing with those types of companies? Because they've obviously got a lot of people that have already booked the hotel through Expedia and their flight through Expedia. Then now that's an easy click to experience. Same with Airbnb. You've already booked your room. So I imagine that's going to be something that you have to kind of compete against. Do you think that how are you set apart? Is it just the uniqueness of it or what?
Yeah, I think they're a competitor and a partner for us.
Okay.
Where we're different is we operate the experiences. So we sell them and market them, but we are experience operator. That's what we do. So where I think the challenge for Airbnb and the challenge for Expedia is they're the intermediary, the middle. They've got the scale, the market, but they don't control the supply. Yeah. Well,
so would they book, like, if I book something through Airbnb, is Airbnb then calling the Intrepid DMC in Morocco or a different DMC or a different?
Possibly depending on it. They'll be, without knowing everything about Airbnb's model, but they'll have trying to do peer-to-peer still. So they'll still do like their, people that have the accommodation experiences. But to scale and grow that, they've had to move and work with more operators. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because one of the challenges they have is scale, consistency. If I have my house and you rent it, do I want to cook you dinner every night? I've got to cook my own dinner. I've got life. So there's becomes this tension and this challenge there. So we provide those services. So I think for both of them, and I think the challenge, especially in the new AI era, is, if you don't own or create the thing, how do you capture value? Because if you're going, if AI, you say, hey, I want to do Peru tour or I want to see the Yankees, it's going to serve up the place you get directly. Because the Yankees are the brand and the businesses that do the tours in Peru will get served up first in AI. So then these intermediaries have the challenge because they aren't the product. How are they going to create value and capture value when they aren't the actual products?
Right. So like if I'm using AI, why would I go through Airbnb or Expedia tickets? When I Google it, it says, do this tour, call Intrepid Travel, book it right now yourself.
Yeah. And that'll be the same for everything. I think that's going to be because the AI is doing the sorting for you. And I think as the AI gets better and it gets more Rachel or more Leigh, it's going to give me what I want directly faster. So I think that's a challenge. But I do think the exciting thing for us is people are speaking about experiences more. It's becoming mainstream. These sort of multi-billion dollar companies are making acquisitions. So that helps. And I think you're going to see more of these big players doing more to get into the experience space, whether it is through acquisitions of other intermediaries or into the space where they are going to be trying to become and develop the products.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to talk about pricing because I think that kind of relates to what we're getting at. And now that I know it's a little bit more of a DMC, I can share how we operated is that we would mark up a percentage of everything that we did. And the vendors that we worked with gave us a discount. So it wasn't truly like market rate plus X percentage. There was a little bit of a difference there. I know other DMCs had models where it was pass-through costs for everything that we would do, but then they'd pay for like a service charge of the DMC's service. And then I looked at some of your packages online and it is all kind of bundled together. So is there anything you can say about your strategy for how you price things? And if you've like tried something different, changed it, how do you come to those kind of package prices? And is packaging and bundling the best route versus service charge and things?
I'd say we use all of those methods. There's no magic bullet because what we try and do at the end is give the best price for the customer and where we can pass on that value. One of the reasons we've been successful, and if you go back to the company's founding, is basically with two guys got a truck, drove across Africa, and they were like, I don't want to go back to my normal job. But at that point, if you go back 35 years, travel was very exclusive. So what they were trying to do is, hey, I think we can do this as long as we make it community focused, good value and sustainable. Yeah, like from an environmental, community perspective. So we've always tried to start at that point on giving the value to the customers. So we try and start at what we think that product will sell and then work backwards from there. It'll be a mix of everything you said. So we'll have contracting taking place to get the best rates possible. Then depending on that market for that product in the particular source markets, there'll be markups depending on what we think the consumers, what's best for the market in that particular area. There'll also be things where it's exclusive experiences that we're making. Yeah, so that's like a brand value. Do you know what I mean? It's not a pure markup. Right. You're creating that and partnering with someone to create that uniqueness. That's probably where you're able to do different pricing models on that. So yeah, it's not one magic bullet, but where we try and work through is like setting up the pricing for the customer in each market that we operate in and work backwards. And then we have to play around with that. And sometimes it's being able to do markups, service charges or different components depending on the destination, the scale, all that stuff.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Thank you for answering that honestly. I feel like sometimes people skirt around the pricing questions.
Well, you got to. I suppose it's like you can skirt around, but we do have to market like we're making money. It's a for-profit organization, so I can't really hide from that. Otherwise, I don't know where we'd be making profit from.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so the last article, Leigh, here is Wild Waves theme park. Have you been to Wild Waves before?
I wish. No, it sounds amazing.
Well, yeah, I guess I got here in March. Yeah, it's true. So Wild Waves is down in Federal Way, and it'll close after the 2026 season. So the final day is going to be November of 2026. They cite significant financial losses, both from the rising operational costs that we've talked about in many of these episodes. It's just really hard to run a business, especially a restaurant or an experience business. And then also the losses they experienced through COVID. And this business had been around. It debuted in 1977, so it has been around for a while. Do you have any initial thoughts on this before I dive in?
No, it's sad. Anytime a local business or iconic, anything part of your holidays that closes down sucks a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think this one's special because I haven't been, but when you're driving down that freeway, everyone sees it on the highway. So I think that's why people are sad too. Okay, what do I want to ask you on this one? I think I want to ask, you wrote an article about trying something new with marketing and at a previous role and it flopped. So let me just bring up your failures here. No, you blogged about it, but how do you approach marketing now with the rise of influencers and social media? And I don't know if there's anything else you want to share about that.
How to approach marketing? No, same. I think what I want to say about that, it's actually something I have strong views on. So I'll choose my words kindly. The fundamentals of marketing stay the same. The tools and tactics change over time. So it doesn't change. Have a good strategy, regardless of what new technologies will come on. Fundamentally at Intrepid, we're trying to get more people to know, care, buy, and share Intrepid. You've still got to get more people to know you. If they don't know you, it's very hard to buy a product. Mm-hmm. So if influencers are the best way for your audience to know you, 100% use them. But conversely, if TV is, radio is, podcast, use that technology. So it's about setting that strategy. And secondly is people have got to be able to buy you. So how do you make it as easy as possible to purchase? So if your customers are purchasing through TikTok Shop or whatever it might be, yeah, you should show up there. But if they're not, don't be there. Mm-hmm. So I think, for me, marketing, sticking to the fundamentals, people have to know and care about you, but they've got to be able to purchase you where they show up and want to buy. So regardless of what changes, whether it's the AI, social media, those fundamentals won't change, but you've got to set a really strong strategy and then lean into the changes. So if your customers are using AI, you probably need to show up there. But if your customers are still going to travel agents or to the cinema or wherever it may be, you should be showing up there. So yeah, I think stick to the fundamentals, make sure people know you, they care about you, and that you're easy to purchase from.
That's great advice. Do you have any example of something like that you wanted to try, whether it was this company or a different company, like kind of a creative marketing strategy, whether it worked or didn't, but something that you wanted to do?
Oh, plenty of times. I think my biggest swing and failure was I used to be the brand lead for a youth travel brand, and we dropped the F-bomb in our advertising. We're a challenger brand. We didn't have as much money, didn't have all that stuff. And I think it was something like, may your stories be effing epic, something along those lines. I can't remember, it was that long ago. And we got all the exposure that we wanted, but my learning, we didn't have the product that matched up with that attitude.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so I think the marketing is a challenger brand. Position ourselves correctly. It targeted the audience, a bit rebellious, wanted to get out and see the world, but didn't want to do it in the traditional sense their parents had, and they did have a bit of an FU attitude. But the product hadn't moved far enough to deliver that. And the second point that I touched on before is it wasn't easy to purchase. We did not have great relationships with travel agents and other areas where customers were going, and we shunned them. So even if we were driving customers, it wasn't converting. So I think the marketing did its job, but we didn't have the business around it to deliver on that. And it probably accelerated the death of that brand.
It's a really interesting point, because I think you can be like, oh, what a great marketing strategy, but it has to match, like you're saying, match the company and also result in people buying it. Yeah, that's a great example.
Well, and it could have been a shocking marketing strategy. Maybe I've got some bias of it. I still think it was probably some of my best work, but it didn't work, so it didn't work.
I guess.
It
still can be a good commercial, right? Like I got my logo designed and I remember thinking like, wow, I really like this logo. This logo is really great, but it's just not for me. And I think both things can be true. That's a great marketing strategy, but maybe it wasn't great for that. And also the timing of it too, right? Like the commercial that comes out years ago maybe would have done it better in a different year. So don't be too hard on yourself. I think you got to try new things. We were talking to the Seattle Art Museum president and CEO, and he was kind of reiterating the importance of trying something new and seeing what happens and all that. So
I definitely learned from it.
yes. I think I'll ask you one more question before we wrap. And this article about Wild Waves kind of made me think about when you're choosing other countries, how do you choose what attractions to do? Do you have like a checklist? Does it have to be, I don't know, how do you approach that? Or do you have people that curate it that you're not?
Yeah, so that's right. So we have people that curate it. It's two-sided in our business that will be developing it. One will be the in-country DMCs. Can't believe I've got to say DMC so many times in this call. But so like in Morocco, the people on the ground, the business there will be sourcing experiences. Yeah, so they'll be speaking to vendors, going out, being an expert in that country. Yeah. Then we'll have our product, the business side that does the marketing and sales, so the product marketing component, and they'll be then listening to what consumers want, what trends are happening, where the market's moving. Those two coming together will be how we form our product. So there'll be some tension there around like, this is what's happening in market. This is what the customers are wanting. There'll be some checklists. There'll be a bit of magic, and we'll bring that together to make a trip. So there's the main thing to really understand is we're listening to the customers, and we've got the experts on the ground, and then the Intrepid brand component will be sorting through that to say, we like this, we don't like that, and this is what we're going to put into the trip.
Yeah, and if people haven't gathered, but DMC, I used to explain it as a general contracting for events. In my world, it was for corporate world events.
Yep.
And so we're the one point of contact, and we as a DMC reach out to all the different vendors. We create a whole experience for you, whether it was team building, decor, entertainment, party, transportation staff, you name it. One point of contact, we organize it all for you. And something we thought about when figuring out like what to offer, people always wanted something that they haven't done before, they'd never seen before. And so we started coming up with like really unique challenges and something very specific to that area. So for San Diego, it was obviously like the zoo and SeaWorld, but we also did the USS Midway and something else, anything that can tie into, like Ron Burgundy was popular there. So we did like a Ron Burgundy impersonator. Anyway, so I recall of us trying to come up with, at one point I reached out to a archery place and I was like, could you do archery lessons for a corporate group and things like that?
And we'll be trying to do that very much like from San Diego's local coffee or San Diego's like best burrito, but not like the main place, trying to take people off the tourist beat and try and give them the sense of that city, that country, that state, and the uniqueness of it. Our teams will be out there trying to make that happen, whether it's like food, whether it's sport, whether it's archery in that particular place, but we're always trying to come back and make it like about the sense of that place, like how are you learning about the culture, its history, its people, how it works.
Perfect. All right, Leigh, we're going to close out with a question. I think this might be the last time I ask this, but we're going into January, so we need some motivation to do our jobs. Let's say if our listeners are listening to this when they've just gotten back for break or and they know it's going to come up. What do you do to get motivated when you don't feel like doing your job?
Go for a walk, not do my job for a bit.
What do you do to get motivated? I just don't do my job.
No, I think two things. One, I do that. Like if I'm struggling, I'll remove myself from the situation. I think that's really important. And I don't tell my boss, but I think sometimes there's some magic in procrastinating. When I'm trying to solve something or I'm struggling, I'll literally go for a walk and have a coffee and not think about it. And it's pretty amazing how it does that. But my motivation always is my family and my friends. And I'm always doing what I'm doing, either to be able to tell a great story to my friends at the pub, or at the brewery because I want to have a good story to tell my friends. So I always have that as my motivation. And then, I'm always trying to make, maybe not pride's the right word, but, I want my wife, my daughter, my mum, my dad to, think that Leigh did something good. I actually don't really care if anyone else thinks that they're the most important people. And the thought of my daughter thinking that I didn't do something good keeps me up at night. So 3 things: go for a walk and procrastinate if you can. 2, stories for your friends, and 3, my family.
That's a great answer. Well, thanks, Leigh, for sitting down with me. And if you're interested in looking it up, go to intrepidtravel.com, I imagine.
Perfect. Yeah, you can do our marketing for us. Great.
I know. There you go. Well, thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
This has been The Weekly, with production assistance from Nick Patry. If you liked what you heard, rate us and write a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. We love listener feedback, so if you have any story suggestions, comments, or complaints, email us at info@theweeklyseattle.com. Make sure to check back next Sunday for the latest local business news. We'll see you next time. Thank you to Alaska Airlines for sponsoring this podcast episode. They offer direct routes from Seattle to Tokyo and Seoul, and soon in 2026, they'll offer direct routes from Seattle to Rome, London, and Reykjavik. You can learn more about their direct flights at alaskaair.com.